Welcome back, everyone. Professor Cameron here. Now, today what we're going to be working on is this piece here. Now, at this point in our modeling, what we want to do is not put emphasis so much on being able to create the part, but being able to create our part efficiently. When you look at any piece, what you should be doing is formulating before you start modeling how to best go about and model this part. Um, you know, two people could take the same part. One person could model it efficiently, get it done in 10 minutes. Another person, you know, depending on how they model it, could take 45 an hour to model the same part. Um, so what we want to do is we just want to, before we start modeling, take a look at any piece we're going to do and figure out the best, the most efficient way to not only model this part, but model it so that it will be easy to rework later. Now, when we look at this piece here, there are a bunch of different ways to model this piece. When we look at this, we can break this down into about 4 or 5 different operations. And we're going to be doing some operations that we haven't done before. So what we can do is we can go ahead and create a new part file. And we can start with modeling this. Now, the first thing we want to do when we model anything is we want to model the sort of base feature of this, the component that, its base shape. And for us, that's actually going to be this side profile of it right here. So what we can do is we can go ahead and select our front plane and create a sketch on it. We're going to grab our line tool and we're just going to rough out that F shape. It doesn't have to be perfect, but what we want to do is try to get it roughly proportional. It's going to make our dimensioning easier if our shape is proportional. And we're going to dimension this as follows. We're going to give it an overall length of 3.25. An overall height of 1.75. Now, if your sketch contorts like this, don't worry. It's still in a pretty flexible state, so we can just grab this at any of the nodes and drag this back into shape. This isn't an issue for us. And then I'm just going to finish up the dimensioning here. In these future tutorials, I'm going to be giving a little bit less guidance as we go along. That way I'm not repeating stuff that you guys already know how to do. All right, and that looks pretty good. We have our sketch. Everything is fully defined. So what we can do is we can go ahead and turn this into a 3D object at this point. To do this, we are going to go to our Features tab, Extrude Boss Base. Now, when we extrude this, what we want to end up with is one of our planes in the middle of our part. And since we started out with our front plane, we want our front plane to end up in the center of this piece. To do that, we're going to do a mid-plane extrusion. From our drop-down menu, we're going to select mid-plane. What that's going to do is it's going to take our extrusion and blow it out both sides equally. And we're going to extrude this to 2 inches. The reason why we're doing this is because that's going to leave us with our origin right here in the center of our piece. For the next step that we're going to do, that's going to play a role in making our job a little bit easier. And we'll cover that in the next step. So once we've got this with a mid-plane extrusion of 2 inches, we can go ahead and click OK. And that's going to solidify that. And our origin is right back in the center where we wanted it. What we're going to do now is we're going to add on this curved front piece right here. Now to do this, we're just going to draw a circle. We're going to create a sketch on the bottom of our part. And because we have our origin right here in the center, we can grab our circle tool, put it right on that origin, and then we can take the side of our circle and just snap it right onto that corner. Now this is going to fully define this circle because we dimensioned the location of it, which is the origin, and we dimensioned the size of it using the width of this extrusion that we made. This is something we want to try to do more often, is not rely so much on smart dimensions, but rely on the geometry, if it's applicable. We'll see a benefit of this in just a second. Once we have that drawn out, it's fully defined, we can go to Features, Extruded Boss Base, and we can go to Blind and select Up to Surface. This is going to take our circle and extrude it up to whatever surface we specify. For us, we want to select the top surface right here so that it's extruding up to meet that top surface. We want to make sure Merge Results is checked for this, and we can select OK. So now that we have our base shape here, what we're going to do is we're actually going to go back and edit this. Before, when we extruded this to a width of 2 inches. We're going to go back to Boss Extrude 1 here. We are going to right-click and edit that feature. We're going to change this from a distance of 2 inches to 2.5. Click OK. And you'll see here, because of how we drew this, right? We didn't specify a dimension for this front diameter. We just snapped it to the geometry. That's automatically going to update for us. We don't have to go back and do anything for that as well. So that makes our redesigns a little bit quicker and a little bit easier. Less input from us, which is always a good thing. So as we go through this, what we want to do, or one thing we can do, is rename these features here. For reworking purposes, renaming these makes it a little bit easier. And to do that, all we have to do is give it 2 slow clicks. Let's see here. There we go. 2 slow, deliberate clicks, and that will open up this to be edited. We're going to call this first one here base, and this second one, we're going to call this circular end. That way, when we're going through, we have to make a modification. We don't have to hunt through and figure out which Boss Extrude feature does what. It'll be apparent to us which one does what. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and cut this hole on this top surface here. To do that, we're going to select this surface, create a sketch. our origin pops up right here in the center of this arc, which is good, because all we're going to do is grab our circle tool, put it right on the origin, and draw out a circle. We are going to smart dimension this circle to a diameter of 0.75. Right like that. And then we can go ahead and cut this using our extrude cut tool. And we're going to use the through all cut command. Then that's going to go ahead and cut that hole through there. And that looks pretty good. We're going to rename that cut operation 3/4 inch cut. Right like that. And now the last cut that we have to do. We're going to cut out this rectangular front end here. We're going to go ahead and create a sketch on this surface. And we're going to grab our corner rectangle tool. We're just going to draw it somewhere up here to somewhere right about here. We are going to dimension this to 1 inch wide, 3/4 of an inch tall, and we are going to offset it from one of the sides by 1/2 of an inch. I'm sorry, 3/4 of an inch, 0.75. Right like that. And then when we cut this, again, we are going to cut this through all. And okay. Right like that. We are going to call this rectangular cut. Right like that. Now, the last thing that we have to do is to put in a fillet right here. And we have two options of doing that. We can put a fillet in using our features fillet right here. Or we can edit the base sketch that we did and put a fillet in there using our sketch fillet tool. In situations like this, I prefer to use the feature fillet. Next week, in the video that we do next week, I'll show you the sketch fillet and why I prefer to use it in the application we're going to next week. But for now, we can use our fillet tool, and we can set this to 0.25. Click that edge right there. And that looks pretty good. And now our part is complete. All we have to do is to set our material for this. And our material is going to be an aluminum. It is going to be 6063 T1. We can go ahead and select apply, close, and now this part is complete. To figure out the mass properties for this, we would go to evaluate and mass properties. If you guys have any questions on this part, please let me know. And as always, have a nice day.